Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our school board meeting. Before we start our school board meeting this evening, I'd like to take a moment of silence to pray for one of the school board members whom we lost, Major Kelvin Cooper, who was a special part of our central office and a special part of our JRTC programs throughout the district. So if I can just have everybody take a moment of silence in his memory. Thank you very much. We are very fortunate at the school board office that we've had many with the virus and have recovered. And I know we spoke about that last meeting, but in Major Kelvin Cooper's memory, I was very glad that Ms. Valerie Bourgeois suggested and mentioned it. So thank you, Ms. Val. Very much appreciated. Right now, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Invocation by Dr. Mary Brewer, our Vice President, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Al Archer. Dr. Brewer.
How's that?
Maybe muted. She was muted.
Oh, sorry. Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing us to come together this evening and for the infinite blessings you have bestowed upon us. Guide us in providing the leadership necessary to move our school district forward, as well as the skill set to best support our employees and students. We also pray for the safety of all people and humbly ask that you continue to bless our country during this challenging time. We ask this of all in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge of Allegiance.
He's muted.
Who's Mr. Archer?
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty
and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Archer. Roll call, Mr. Jarrett Martin.
Ms. Babin?
Here.
Ms. Huddleston?
Here.
Ms. Thomas? Ms. Fertitta? Ms. Fertitta is here. Dr. Brewer?
Here.
Dr. Guillat?
Here.
Dr. Guillat is here. Ms. Bourgeois?
here.
Mr. Dufresne?
Here.
Mr. Schwest?
Here.
Mr. Blazons?
Here.
Mr. Duplantis?
Here.
Mr. Lafont?
Here.
Mr. Archer? Mr. Archer is here. Mr. Bernard?
Here.
And Mr. Adams?
Here.
Thank you very much. We have a quorum. Public participation. Comments will be accepted on our live stream for the meeting. To submit comments, please use the comment feature on the Lafourche Parish District Facebook page. Comments will be read aloud prior to a vote on any agenda item. 2, approval of board consent agenda. A, approval of board consent agenda items.
Keeps going.
What's that? B, minutes of regular school board meeting held April 8th, 2020. Is there any comments from the board? We have audience comments coming in. We usually have to wait. There's a delay, Dean says. So do I have a motion of approval of board consent agenda items?
I move.
Motion by Ms. Marion Fertitta, second by Mr. Harold Adams. We're gonna have a roll call vote, correct, Mr.
That is correct.
Thank you. So, do I have a motion?
Okay, Ms. Babin,
Yes.
Ms. Huddleston,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas, Ms. Fertitta,
Yes.
Dr. Bro,
Yes.
Dr. Giat,
Yes.
Ms. Bourgeois,
Yes.
Mr.
Yeah.
Dufresne,
Yes.
Mr. Schwest,
Yes.
Mr. Plaisance,
Yes.
Mr. Planis,
Yes.
Mr. Lafont,
Yes.
Mr. Archer,
He's muted.
Yes.
Mr. Bernard,
Yes.
Mr. Adams.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Thank you very much. Motion passes. 3, new business. To receive a report from Superintendent Martin on the current operations within the Lafourche Parish School District. Mr. Martin?
Yes, Madam President, thank you. First, I'd like to report on the CARES Act. Spoke with many of you about this already, but the federal government passed the CARES Act, and that money then gets trickled down to the states, and the state has then allocated money to the various school districts. And Lafourche Parish's initial block of money that's going to receive as a result of the CARES Act is $3.8 million. What we're going to do with that money is continue to fund the purchasing of Chromebooks, continue to find ways to provide wireless internet to those families that are most needy, and pay for a summer school program that we are currently developing a plan for. Mr. Kenny Delcom has been given the charge of developing that plan, and he's working with the curriculum specialists and the various principals across the district to develop a summer school. The initial plan will be 3 to 4 weeks of voluntary compensatory education for all students K through 12 that are interested and their families are interested. Also, I'd like to report, as was included in my weekly update, that the super app funding has been finalized, and Lafourche Parish is going to get $305,000 from the super app. Also, the federal program budget has been approved. Title I, $3.7 million, IDEA, $2.5 million, and various other funding sources through federal programs has been approved. It very much mirrors the funding that we received last year, with one notable change. And the most notable change is early literacy, which has been funded at $105,000. And what that's going to allow us to do is to hire someone to oversee the early literacy program that has largely been unfilled for the last couple of years. This is in line with the state's initiative to increase the educational opportunities for birth to 3. And we in Lafourche Parish agree with that initiative, and personally want to see a pilot program in Thibodaux soon, where we can begin to educate students that are most at risk, particularly that birth to 3 years old age group. Switching gears to land and facilities, we have a sewer plant project going on at Central Lafourche High School. The project is ongoing. The actual hole is dug, and they're building a ramp to back the truck and the equipment in to get that sewer plant completed. We also have safety tax projects going on at Central Lafourche and South Lafourche High School. That work is beginning this week. And the last major initiative going on with land and facilities is the demolition at La Rose Middle School. The abatement is beginning this week and will be going on for the next 3 weeks, at which time the actual demolition of the building will occur. Maintenance has ongoing operations, which include the checking of our sewer plants, the checking of our buildings, and making sure that when we are ready to open the buildings to our students, that we are able to do so in a safe and responsible way. From the HR department, we have payroll that is obviously ongoing, and we also have changes in how we will be paying our staff as the stay-at-home order is lifted. We are preparing to cease the practice of paying time and a half to our hourly employees once the stay-at-home order is lifted, and every department has been directed to develop a system by which we can return to work in a very paced, very slow measure, but still providing the supports all of our schools need to be successful. We don't anticipate being back to servicing the public out of the central office, as a side note, until at least phase 2 of the phased recovery plan. But we do know that during phase 1, we need to make some modifications to our website, our phone system, and be able to respond to the public and our employees as they have needs. And that's been identified and will be done and corrected soon. From a curriculum and instruction standpoint, we obviously have Google Classrooms, which is ongoing, and our teachers and IT department are working cohesively to get this thing up and running well. And I can't thank the entire staff for what they've done. Over the last 2 weeks, they've moved mountains to make this possible, and I know it's appreciated across the entire district. As I mentioned, we're developing the summer school plan, and in order to make this possible, as well as the Google Classrooms, we've given out over 2,000 Chromebooks. And so I want to thank the IT department, the STAs, and everybody that made that possible, including our principals that put on PPE, interacted with the public in a safe and responsible way, and made that happen. And lastly, as it relates to curriculum, the high school principals, along with Mr. Delcom, will finalize a graduation ceremony plan this Friday. There are a lot of ideas, and frankly, none of them are ideal. So what we're going to do is the best possible way to recognize the accomplishments of our graduating seniors in a responsible way that adheres to the expectations of the parish government. So it's a real challenge, but this Friday, that plan will be finalized and it will be included in my weekly update. Lastly, I spoke with Mr. Jason Akers. You may remember him from the law office of Foley and Udell that are handling both the sales tax initiative and the bond restructuring. We have to sell bonds in order to fund the construction of the new middle school, and that is ongoing. And he would also like to include with the sale of these new bonds to fund the construction of the middle school, the restructuring of that debt that we had planned to do before the COVID crisis of March 13th began. So what we're going to do is look at whenever we need to make our first draw of money from the bonds as a date that will drive the decisions required to move forward, and include in one bundled package the restructuring of our existing bond debt with the sale of new bond money to fund the new middle school. And the last thing of note that I would mention that Mr. Jason Aker and I spoke about is the sales tax initiative, which would have been happening this week, if memory serves me correctly. It seems like a lifetime ago, but that's been pushed back, of course, and as you all know, to July. And we have until June 20th to make a decision as it relates to that pending sales tax initiative. So I am here to answer your questions. That is my report. And I thank you for your support.
Guess we'll do a roll call on questions of school board members. Mr. Harold Adams, do you have any questions for Mr. Jarrett Morton?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Mr. Ray Bernard?
Yeah, I know that students have lost about 1/3 of their instructional time. Has there been plans by the curriculum committee for some type of vertical alignment between the grades so that when they actually go back to the class, be able to make up for that 1/3 missed with the next grade level?
Yes, sir, they have. And what's fantastic is that, we did lose the last 9 weeks, but we also didn't have to test, right? So even if we would have been in school, we would have lost a good 2 weeks of that 9 weeks to testing. And so what the curriculum team has done is identified those skills that are most critical for each of those grade levels in all of the 4 content areas. And that's what we're going to focus on, not only in these 3 weeks, but in those 3 to 4 weeks of summer school as well.
Hey, thank you. I have just one other comment, and that'll be it. I know that's not going to be too popular probably with the parents or anything else, but I was looking at possibly an alternate option to opening early, opening later. And the rationale behind that is to ensure safety from infection. We don't know where this COVID-19 is going. That way, schools that are opening earlier, we can learn by their mistakes. We can always open a little bit later. I'm not saying we do that now. I'm just saying as an alternate plan later on, we can always open later, go into June and July, and as long as we make the instructional minutes. But that's just something for us to look at. If it doesn't work out the way we want it to work out, an option would be to open up later during the school year, maybe in September as opposed to August. Just throwing that out there, that's all. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Bernard. Mr. Al Archer, any comments or questions for the superintendent?
No, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Al. Mr. Henry Lafont?
Only one thing you had mentioned to me earlier, Jared, about the graduation. I do know a number of constituents says if at all possible, they would like something where they can attend. And the parents would like to attend that. I know the committee's going to make a decision what's best for everyone come Friday. I'm just letting you know what a couple of people.
Yes, sir. And that's ideal. And that's what everybody wants. We're balancing that with the health and safety and the guidelines of not only the CDC, but our local parish government. So yes, sir, we're aware of that. And we're going to try to accomplish that.
Thank you, Mr. Morton. Thank you, Mr. Henry. Mr. Barry Plazos?
I just have one thing, Mr. Martin, on the sales tax initiative. So you're saying June 20th, we have basically a deadline to either put forth the sales tax or to not go forward with it.
Yes, sir, that is correct. Today being May 6th, you've got a couple of months before this board needs to make a decision as it relates to going forward with the sales tax or postponing it.
Yeah, because things are.
And of course, and I'm sorry, Mr. Blazons, that is pending no changes, right?
Okay.
We're operating in a world where we don't know what the governor is going to do May 15th, but pending the election is allowed to go on in July. You have until June 20th.
Right. So, I mean, things are just so much different 8 weeks, from March 13th. I mean, I think it's something we need to discuss quickly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Plazos. Mr. Joey Duplantis?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Duplantis. Mr. Tyler Dufresne?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tyler Dufresne. I see you got a haircut. Mr. Randy Schwess? Any questions for the superintendent?
No, ma'am, no question. And I got a haircut also. I'm not sure if you noticed.
Ms. Valerie Bourgeois?
I don't have any questions for the superintendent. I do have a comment though. It is Teacher Appreciation Week, so I just want to give a shout out to all of our teachers for doing such a fabulous job, especially this week with the virtual learning. And also parents as being teachers too. I've been wishing a lot of parents happy Teacher Appreciation Week this week also. They have been very patient with the virtual learning, and that's ideal. We're all seniors. I know it's tough on patient and things like that, but the silver lining is have been getting lots of recognition. So I'm glad about that too. So great job, the community coming together for our seniors especially.
Thank you, Ms. Ms. Mary Pacita?
Yes, I do have one question. Well, first of all, I want to thank Superintendent Martin and the curriculum team. They've done just an awesome job of getting instruction to our students. But I have a question about the federal funding that just came through. How was the money appropriated? Because I just saw in the paper where Terrebonne Parish got a whole lot more than we did. So I was just wondering if you knew how the money had been appropriated.
So that is a great question. And the answer is, I don't know.
Okay.
But
That's a great answer.
It's actually quite vexing because it was asked by the business managers to the State Department, how was this calculated? And the answer we received was, oh, well, don't worry about it. It was all done correctly.
Oh, sure. Okay.
And I'm not making it up. That was the answer. So to do the math, Terrebonne students received, I want to say, around $340 per child, and we received about $260 per child.
Right.
That is quite a disparity, and no one can actually explain how or why. We're assuming it has to do with students that are considered at risk and how Title I is funded, because they modeled that to give this money out to districts, but it was not a per pupil flat dollar amount. That is clear. Because the two parishes are very similar in size, but you are exactly right. Terrebonne received just over $6 million.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Fertitta. Dr. Mary Brew?
No questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brew. Dr. Dennis Guillot?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Guillot. Ms. Tina Babin?
So I do have one question to Superintendent Martin. If we decide that we are not ready for the sales tax on June 20th, like if we decide July is not the right time, it's not, when would be our next option? Like what's the future hold?
I would have to get with to see when the next available date is in the election cycle.
Okay.
These things typically you'll have one in the spring and one in the fall.
Okay.
Right. So I'm assuming you can have one as early as December. And I'm hoping Mr. Amity is shaking his head up and down in agreement with me right now.
That's good. I agree with you. I think we'll have one in the fall, but we have a presidential election, I think in November. So that we know that day will be an election day.
Okay. And I also want to take a second to say thank you to Mr. Guidry, Mr. Dean Guidry, and Mr. Jamie Chauvin. With all the teachers putting everything forward for the platform, the technology was amazing. The Google platform technology went off without a hit. The kids were able to join the classrooms. It was very user-friendly. Computers were in kids' hands in a timely way. You guys really, really went above and beyond, and it is really appreciated. So thank y'all very much.
Thank you, Ms. Babin. 4 tentative dates for future meetings. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Before I go on to that, Mr. Blake Bogan had a comment on Facebook, and he said he wants to thank and congratulate the curriculum team for the amazing job they did. So he concurred with what Ms. Tina Babin just said. So thank you, Mr. Bogan, for placing that comment on Facebook. I'm kind of monitoring it as we go. So, Ms. Gwen, we're happy to have you as well with us. Let's see. I'll move on to 4 tentative future meeting dates. A regular board meeting, Wednesday, June 3rd, 2020. The meeting dates will be announced accordingly. Before we adjourn the meeting, are there any final comments from anyone?
Yes, I'd like to make a comment. I'd like to thank Ms. Tina Babin for her effort to get those cards out. Thank you so much. Really do appreciate it. And the check is in the mail.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any other comments?
Yeah, Madam President, I'd like to congratulate Mr. Morton. I think he's doing an excellent job on some really tough circumstances. So Superintendent, I think you're doing a fine job for us right now.
Thank you so much, Mr. LaFont. I appreciate the opportunity to do this.
Anybody else?
Yes, just a quick reminder to those kids who are doing the STEM challenges from the architecture firm in Georgia, Build with Bro. Don't forget to tag your school and hashtag Build with Bro. Lots of people have been doing it, and we're hoping to get a free 3D printer for one of our schools. I think right now, the last time I looked, Cutoff Elementary was in the lead. So keep up those STEM challenges, students. It's fun and it's a great activity for you.
Thank you, Ms. Bourgeois.
Madam President?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'd just like to say thank you to our entire staff for everything that y'all done recently since COVID-19 began. Excellent job, Mr. Guidry, Superintendent Martin, entire IT staff, every teacher, principal. Thank y'all so much for what y'all do. And of course, it is Teacher Appreciation Week, so thank y'all so much. Thank you.
We did have one question come through Facebook. Mr. Martin, possibly you can address this question is when will we know more about the summer school schedule and how that's going to come about?
Oh yeah, good question. That will be posted within a week. Before the end of next week, that will be made public.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. And I know we all look back on things that we say or things that we share or do, and I'd like to welcome you to the parish, Mr. Martin. I know through all of this, you've uprooted your family and moved to Lafourche Parish. That was something you said when you did your superintendent interview. So
I did. I'm looking at Bayou Lafourche right now. If you can see on the other side of the screen, I'm looking up at Bayou Lafourche. So.
Wow.
So welcome to the parish and happy Teacher Appreciation Day, happy Nurses Day. I know the board always celebrates everybody, every employee for Teacher Appreciation Week. So we definitely have you in our minds, our thoughts, and our prayers. Anybody else?
Madam President.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I want to extend my appreciation. Thanks to all the great things that's taken place so far, and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, please.
Oh, that's true. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good.
Mother's
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Archer. Anybody else?
Archer saved all of us.
He usually does.
I was gonna say the same thing, Val. All righty, if there's nothing further, we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much and good evening.